We'll get started. Nolan, do you want to start the first question?
Yeah, Senator, if we can have you kind of explain what brings you down here. I know you're on a committee, and there's a reason why you're here. It's a two-day event. What have you seen, and how is everything looking?
Well, first of all, it doesn't really make any difference what committee you're on. You're still representing the entire state, but I am on the Armed Services Committee, and we got, 700 to 800 defense contractors in Huntsville, Redstone. We got a lot of things going on behind the fence. And so I've been here many times. I just hadn't seen the intricacies of what's going on. And we're getting ready to do a budget and appropriations, for all kind of things across the country. President Biden will come out with his budget here in the next few weeks. And so I'm just here today to dot all the I's, cross all the T's, get to know people in charge, and make sure that we're up to speed on what they're doing and what they need.
Can I switch gears a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's been lots of talks about President Biden's infrastructure plan. What are your thoughts on that? What are you kind of feeling right now?
Well, we haven't seen it. I mean, what happens, it originates in the House in committee, and we really don't know yet what's in it. I've heard before I left D.C. last week to go to the border that it was going to be 3 to 4 trillion. Heard today it's 2 trillion. So we're just waiting to see what's in it. There's going to be infrastructure, but there's also going to be a lot of taxes, raising taxes corporately and individually. So we really don't know what's going on, but we'll find out shortly. It'll come out, they'll pass it to the Senate, and we'll get a copy of it probably before we go back to work. We have 2 weeks off where everybody can go around to their states and do what I'm doing today, but I look forward to getting this bill and see what's in it.
So, Senator, Congress recently passed a law, and President Biden signed it, that would allow the VA to expand eligibility for vaccines to basically all veterans as well as their spouses and their caregivers. But it seems like right now there's not enough supply. What do you say about the VA's response to COVID-19 and their ability to get vaccines out? Yeah,
I'm on the Veterans Committee also, Veterans Affairs, and I think all of us agree that it's important that since we're losing so many of our veterans to suicide, we lose 18 to 20 a day committing suicide, that it's important that we get the vaccine out to our veterans. They're deserving. The Save Lives Act was passed and signed by President Biden. That gives but the vaccine to the veteran, him or herself, and their spouse, which is important. And so right now we're moving close to 2 million vaccines that have been provided for the entire state of Alabama. Last week it was 1.5, 1.6, but we'd only had 500,000 that had taken both vaccines. So Alabama's behind. We're behind. We've been talking to people about it, and making sure we get as many vaccines as we possibly can. Now that will pick up obviously now that we've got 3 vaccines that are available, but we need to get more in the state, not just for veterans, but everybody, because the herd immunity and the people getting the vaccination is going to put this in the back rearview mirror for us. We're going to get this virus behind us, and most of it's going to be because of the vaccine. But I know the state's working at it hard. Governor Ivey, we've talked to her staff, and they're working at it. We're doing as much as we can, but it's just one of those things. We've got to get more vaccines.
Speaking of the vaccines and Alabama being behind, if you look at surrounding states, it seems like they've lowered their criteria down to almost like to teenagers at this point. I mean, virtually anyone can get a vaccine. When you talk to people, what's the explanation that you get on why Alabama is behind?
Well, it's just the rollout. At the end of the day, it's the rollout. It's nobody's fault. It comes from different areas. I think you can look at the situation with Pfizer. You have to have these refrigeration systems that are very different. I think we had 160 distribution places in the state for a vaccine. We only had 40 that had the Pfizer because they're the ones that had the refrigeration to handle it. So I think the infrastructure was as much of a problem as anything. But you don't want to make any excuses, and you can't look backwards. Every day, Senator Shelby and all the congressional delegation in Washington, D.C. is trying to help, but it all usually goes back for something like this to the state. They're in charge of where it goes, who gives it, and I know they put more of it in some of the distribution places like Walmart. They've included the National Guard. You can only do those things, but you can only give what you got. And so we do. We've got to get more vaccines out. It's really nobody's fault other than the fact that we got to beg and beg and beg for more. And we got to get them in the arms. They just can't sit in refrigeration.
If I can have you talk about your trip to the border, when it comes to border security, comes to legislation, when it comes to the migrants, some of them are still away from their parents and they're away from families. You were there. Kind of explain, what did you see, what did you do, and what's your take on the whole situation?
You know, I've been to the border many times, coached in Texas twice, recruited all the Rio Valley area, and just amazed at the growth down there, number one, because I've been in most of the schools, but it's really grown. I didn't know what to expect at the border, but it wasn't good. It was not good at all. We saw a lot of things that were serious. Kids coming across that are from infant age all the way up to 18 and 19. And of course, you've got some adults, but not a whole lot. Most of them are young kids coming across. A lot of them are not escorted by parents. They're by themselves. One 7-year-old girl was standing in the corner. I saw her. I can't imagine being 7 years old and being put in a situation like that. We don't have control of the border. No, we do not. And I think that you'll see more and more pictures coming out now that they're letting press in. We're being overrun. We're spending millions of dollars. Just the one area that we were in, they spend $750,000 a week on food alone, not including the other things that go along with it. We're not in charge of or control the border. The cartels are. You have to pay $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 to be allowed by the cartels to cross the Rio Grande River. They're making millions and millions of dollars off of this. It's a moneymaker. And what's happening too is our Border Patrol agents who are doing a great job. They're just overwhelmed. And they're in charge of checking all the kids and whoever's coming across in and doing the things that they need to do to take care of them, and our border's unprotected. You've got a huge increase, 200 or 300% of the drugs that are coming across now, more than they were this time last year. So we're going to have a lot of deaths for overdoses. Fentanyl's coming across. I think it was 300% more fentanyl coming across than it came across this time last year, and that is a deadly drug. So we got to get control of it. The Border Patrol commissioner down there told us that when the election happened, they talked to the transition team. Just let us know what we know you're going to make some changes. Give us an update so we can take care of it before you take office. They never heard from them again. Inauguration day, they got a call, basically open it up, and we're going to let minors in, and it become an overnight disaster. And it's not going to stop anytime soon. We will have 1.5 to 2 million illegal immigrants come into our country this year, and you don't know where they're going. I sat on a plane leaving McAllen on Friday afternoon, had this young lady sit next to me, couldn't speak English, had a 6-7-month-old with her. She was probably 21, 22, and she had an envelope where she was going. She couldn't speak English. She was going from McAllen to Houston to Denver. I'd love to talk to her. I don't speak Spanish, so we get off the plane, and I had to find somebody that spoke Spanish that could help get her to the gate to go to Denver. That's how, I felt bad for her, and she had just a bag of clothes for her and the little infant. I didn't have a clue where she was going, but there were probably on that flight 20 to 25 that had that envelope that were going somewhere across the country. Around 10% of them are testing positive for COVID. We're spending trillions of dollars, taxpayers' money every day. Since the day it started, and we're letting people in with COVID. I don't understand this. We're a country of immigrants, and we want to help people, but we also want to get over this virus, and we want our borders controlled. So we'll see what President Biden does.
So you've talked a lot about COVID. Alabama's mask mandate expires here in just a week. What is your message to Alabamians?
Well, just hold on. Hopefully, one thing I want to say is I've had the vaccine, and it's safe. Obviously, there's going to be some people have some kind of reaction. I got a little sick on my second one, but I'm fine. But there's a certain percentage of the state, and I don't know what it is now, of people that are refusing to take it. We've got to get this virus behind us, and the best way to do it is to get the vaccine. We can't make you do it. We don't want to mandate it. This is a free country. You can take it if you want to, but I'm just, from my experience and the people that I've talked to across the country, is we have got to get back to work. We got to get our kids back in school. And the best way to do that is take the vaccine, get herd immunity, and then hopefully in the next couple of months we get back to a normal life, because this has been a tough year for everybody.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what you learned yesterday on your trip to NASA's Muscle Flight Center?
Yeah, very interesting. I've kept up with our space endeavors over the years. I can remember sitting in front of the TV when I was a young kid and watched us make the first steps on the moon. Now we're going back. And so we got a very good briefing on what they're doing, why they're doing it, when they're going to do it, you know, the time limits, obviously the budget. Joyce Singer, who's head of Space Center, was very generous with her time. We spent 4 hours talking about almost every part of the space program and their plans. And they've got a great plan, not just going to the moon, but also to Mars. And hopefully in my lifetime we get to do that. But it's going to have to be a lot of work between now and then. It takes money, it takes organization, and of course the people here for years have been on top of everything in terms of what we've done in space. And then of course you've got SpaceX and you've got Blue Origin and other people involved commercially. But I think it's going to have to be a huge team effort, you know, to get this thing going and continue to keep it going to do what we want to do in space.
And I'll ping pong back to the border issue, but when you go down and you talk to border officials down there, or just for yourself, what you may have gleaned, what's the best solution, or what could be done today to make that situation better?
Well, talking to people that's been in charge of the border for years, just talking to them, they've been through administration after administration, Democrat and Republican. This is not a Democrat and Republican problem. This is basically a policy problem. We've never really, for some reason, got a handle on our immigration policy. We need new immigration policy, number one. But first of all, to stop it and to cut back on the money that we'll have to spend in the future, we need a wall. We need a wall because we got 1,700 miles of border that we can't patrol with the number of people that we put on the border. We can't afford it. American taxpayers can't afford it. So just listening to them talk, the only person that's really made headway with our immigration system was President Trump. And not just because of him, because of his ideas of, number one, put a border wall up. Number two, when they come across, no matter who they are, they put them on a plane and they send them back to the country they came from. Treat them nice, but put them back on a plane and send them. That way what happens, and what the Border Patrol agents tell us, is the word gets around, hey, you can make this 5-6 week trip from Honduras or Guatemala, El Salvador, but when you get there, they're gonna put you on a plane and send you home. They're not gonna let you go in. Right now, and I proposed a bill that when you're coming in, if we're gonna let people in, we've gotta know, number one, that they have got to have a court date. And right now they're putting people on a plane, send them all over our country, and they don't have a court date. So we proposed a bill that says, when we put you on that plane, or we put you on the bus, or we turn you loose in the United States of America, you have a court date 5, 6, 7 months from now that you've got to go in front of a judge and explain why you should be in the United States of America, why you should get asylum. Right now, we're not doing that. We're not putting anything in front of these men, women, kids that says you have got to be responsible for a court date in the future. The Border Patrol tells us once you turn them loose in the United States of America, they never go home. They're here. We don't have any inflammation in any of our laws that said we're going to send them back. So we've got to get control of it. And that's, you know, we're a dangerous world. You know, we've got a lot of people who want to come to the best country on God's green earth. They want to come here because we're the best country ever because of the democracy and the freedoms that we have. That's the reason they're trying to come. But we as taxpayers can't afford the bill that we're getting ready to have to pay. We can't afford it. And it's, we need, you know, safety, but we need to keep our Border Patrol and the people at the border safe. We need to make sure that they have the opportunity to work every day in a safe environment.
Got time for one last question?
The mask mandate is set to expire April 9th. I've heard reports that President Biden is asking states to not lift the restrictions, not lift the rules. Governor Ivey, I believe, has not yet spoken. What's kind of your take? Are you pushing in a particular direction?
Well, I'm for wearing a mask when you need to wear a mask, and I think in this country we've kind of figured out, hey, you know, when you're around people, groups of people, elderly people, people that are susceptible to possibly really being hurt by this virus, you should wear a mask. I'll probably wear a mask continued on because I travel all the time when I fly. I'll probably continue to wear a mask whenever they do away with it. I hadn't had a cold since I started wearing a mask. And so there's some good things about it. But you got to remember one thing. This is a free country. And I don't really like that the government is telling us that we can't go to work, that we can't go to school, and we got to wear a mask. I think we got to be smart enough to understand what's good for ourselves, our families, and the people around us. So hopefully we get this behind us. But again, I think there's obviously situations where you need to wear a mask, where you're told to or not.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.